like talk about, scream from the rooftop years ago, is as soon as you go live, I always recommend doing it from your Facebook page, right? Because our page is retargetable. We can get all those amazing people that watched at least 3 seconds of that broadcast to come into our retargeting world so that we can put ads in front of them in the future. But we also want other people that we're connected with in different ways to be able to come into that live broadcast. So I'm going to share it to my personal page because I have lots of connections on my personal page that are interested in marketing. I'm going to ask Mike if he wants to share it to his personal page. Of course, your guests aren't obligated to do it ever. But when I had actually, Mike, this is crazy. Years ago, I think it was, I don't know, it was probably like 2018-ish. I did a live stream we had 10 other online business owners, entrepreneurs on the live stream on a brand new Facebook page, like did not exist. We had just created it for this live stream. And we did this syndication, right? So each person who was on the broadcast, as soon as we went live, they shared it to their personal page and they shared it to their business page. Yep. By the end of that 1 hour live broadcast, not only did we have like the most incredible people joining us, but the page grew by 150 followers. And a brand new page that had 0 people following it reached an audience of 10,000 people out of the gate.
Wow, that's incredible.
Right?
Yeah, I'll definitely go share it for the record.
So I'm a huge fan of this syndication strategy so that people can just find the broadcast while it's happening live. Okay, so now that we've covered that, Mike's going to go share it. I'm going to go get it shared to my personal page once I introduce this badass that we have here with us, Mike Heiser. For those of you who don't know Mike, we actually go back to, I don't know, I think we maybe met at like TNC 2017, 2016.
Yeah, somewhere in there. It's a while now.
It's a while now.
Oh,
and so we were sitting in a Ryan Dice conference room. It was one of the big like main ballrooms at Traffic and Conversion Summit back in like 2016 or 2017. I think it was 2016. And at that time, you were working behind the scenes with some major players in this industry, which is a trend that you've definitely continued your entire career. But at the time, I believe you were working with Amy Porterfield, and I was in shock because I was like, oh my God, I'm sitting here with Mike, like the guy behind the scenes at Amy's business. And Amy was sitting next to you, and we were in a session about bots. And I had my phone up there. I was like, this is gold. Let me record it. I'm just so excited about this technology. And you turned to me and you're like, can you send me that like recording?
Right.
And that was how you and I connected. And so Mike in this industry I'm going to go out on a limb and just say you are the most competent, technical, optimization focused human being that I know in this industry. I've had the pleasure of working with Mike directly. He had a hand in the behind the scenes of bringing the Bro Marketing article to life back in 2018. I watched him work behind the scenes of like industry giants like Melanie Duncan, with Devin Duncan, with Amy Porterfield, with I believe Todd Herman back in the day. You worked with them. Chris and Taylor from Traffic and Funnels, like, your roster spans everywhere. So I'm going to pass it over to Mike.
Thank you.
Because he has so many valuable insights to share from all of that. So first off, I just want to say thanks for being here, bud.
Heck yeah, happy to. Always. I love everything that you do, for the record.
Oh, well, thank you.
Anything to support that.
Oh, I appreciate you so much. Okay, so I'm going to start with a hard-hitting question then out of the gate, the one that everyone wants to know.
Sweet.
Dude, how do you get an ad account to $1 million a month?
Everyone's going to be so disappointed in the answer to this one too, because the reality is like it's based on the necessity of the business, not necessarily, being able to say, I spent $1 million on ads. So we had ramped up hiring big time on the sales team and the coaching team. and we needed to fill the calendars on the sales team for all these new people that we were hiring. So, from probably September, we were spending about 200, 250, somewhere in there, to February was just a relatively linear scale up to $1 million in February, which, yeah, so like not that exciting answer. It was based on necessity, and primarily it's based on knowing your numbers and how the business is going to grow through those numbers.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about numbers, because I know prior to this broadcast, I had posted on the Facebook page, just what are your questions for Mike, right? And one, Chris McCarthy, he wanted to know, what is the ROAS target at this level of ad spend? Because we all see the screenshots of people saying like, I spent this much, or my leads were this cheap. So he, like, the hard hitting question, he just wanted to say, or he wanted to ask at this level, like, what are we looking at for ROAS?
Yep, always. Well, one, I'm going to preface this by saying this is a performance marketing driven organization. So
can you explain what that means for just anyone who might not be familiar with that term?
Yeah, like put $1 in, get $2 out, like building the money making machine, that kind of thing. That's all performance marketing. So our ROAS varies depending on whether or not we're in a kind of like growth stage or maintain stage. When you're growing, things become a lot less efficient, and when you're maintaining, things tend to like tighten up and become way more efficient. So if we're growing, we're aiming for roughly 5x ROAS. So we did about $6 million in revenue in February. So that's roughly 6x, spent like 1.1 million, did 6 million in revenue, not bad. And then if we just maintain, that should peak up to about 8x as the sales team gets more efficient, our ads get more efficient. We're not pushing as hard to grow, so everything becomes a little bit more profitable.
Love that. And is that within like the first 30 days, or is that being tracked like the entire customer lifetime value and the journey maybe over the year that they then spend going through like your back end ecosystem?
Yeah, usually over a quarter at least. So like if we're hiring someone on the sales team, they're going to take really 3 months to ramp up to their full capacity and full skill level within the company. So usually within that 3-month mark of our most recent hire is when we're going to reach our peak efficiency in terms of driving revenue.
Yeah, I love that, because a lot of new advertisers, they're measuring just like the day-to-day basis. So it's like the dollar in, the dollar out, and they don't have systems and structures set up in their business to be like, well, what are those people worth in 30 days? What are those people worth in 90 days? What are those people worth to the business in a year? And I had a friend, she was panicked over her lead costs going up like 30 cents. Granted, her leads were still like $1 in the B2B space. She taught Instagram marketing. And I had to sit her down and be like, yes, and let's look at the value of those leads at the end of the launch. Let's look at the value of those leads like in your business after you've had multiple launches and those humans going through the pipeline. So before we went live, you actually just alluded to one of the like important factors of the business is setting up your tracking and having that dialed in.
Oh yeah.
Like speak to that real quick.
Oh yeah. On Facebook, data is, well, and in business, data is everything. So Facebook, I wouldn't say is a social media company, they're a data company. Amazon's not an e-com company, they're a data company. Google is not a search engine, it's a data company. So knowing that, like, one, we want to own as much data as we can as in our individual businesses. And then two, for Facebook marketing specifically, we want to feed all that data back into Facebook. And if you're able to do that well, then the Facebook algorithm, the machine learning, everything becomes smarter and the results get better and better. You do need to be spending a certain amount of money in order to actually see the benefit of that. I would say like $500 a day usually is the threshold. But once you're at that threshold and beyond it, you're only going to get better results by feeding more and more data in. So get the tracking implemented correctly from the get-go, and you're going to be set up for more success down the road.
Yeah. And great. Like, thanks for adding that distinction. Cause I know a lot of people who are just getting started and in that, like, I don't know what ads manager phase is. They think that they cannot be successful without all of these tools. But like when you start a brand new ad account, when you have an organic side of the business, like, and you're making money in general, it's like, well, shit, you've already done that, like to a certain, I told Mike before the broadcast, I was like, oh, let's try not to swear on this one already. Threw that out the window.
Oh, it's fine. We'll add a bleep.
we'll add a bleep to it. It's fine. But like, they're already getting that level of revenue coming in. And so you don't need all the tools out of the gate, but as you get more dialed in with your metrics, you're saying now it's time to start tracking it like so much more. Any tools that you like highly recommend for people?
For getting started and at the, at that $500 a day mark, I like Hyros a lot, just because it's relatively easy to implement. That said, I don't think it's particularly difficult to go implement it with, like, there's a little snippet of JavaScript that I can share for anyone using ClickFunnels. You add some
Everyone in
hidden
the
fields
comments
in
is like,
there,
yeah, share
and-
it.
right? And then that's going to open up just this like beast of other like Q&A.
Totally.
But basically, there's ClickFunnels also has a CAPI integration, which works well. And then there's a custom implementation that you can do using Zapier, and that's pretty straightforward as well.
Awesome.
But Hyros is the most user-friendly.
Is the most user-friendly. And I'm sure that's what you're using at such a large scale of ad spend.
Kind of.
Ooh,
That's a more complicated answer.
All right, you know what? We're gonna just leave them hanging with that. Open loop that one. We're not gonna we're not gonna go deeper with it until you guys start spending $1 million a month on ads as well. Well, maybe we'll set it at least they spend 6 figures and then they can come talk about it.
Yep. Well, there's a service that we use called Dr. UTM, which is like enterprise Hyros tracking.
Cool.
And their minimum threshold to work with them is $1 million a month in spend. So
perfect.
The reason why we got in with them when we were scaling from 200K is because we're friends with the owner and they needed data to set up the system. So
I love it.
There's very much a partnership there.
I love it. Okay, so for people who might be earlier in their Facebook ads journey, they're just trying to understand like which ads to run for what, like what kind of content you amplify. Genevieve in our comment thread had asked, what is the brand's main objective with its advertising, right? Like we're going super macro level. Is it audience awareness, lead generation, education, promoting self-liquidating offers, creating a buyer's list, or like some combination of all these strategies? Like how is that $1 million getting disseminated over all these objectives?
I don't want to conflict with anything that you typically teach.
No, you conflict away because we teach different like levels of the journey. So
it is 100% conversion campaigns.
Yes.
We're selling a $167 widget from a webinar.
Yep.
And then we ascend those people into I think it's $7,700, our high ticket program.
Love it.
But we just changed the price, so it might be a little more, could be a little less, don't know. But yeah, we sell a front end offer, a self-liquidating offer, something like that.
And you said the price point of that was 167?
Yep.
167 self-liquidating offer into more of like a higher ticket like package that they get. And there's a team that is delivering this content on the back end. Yeah. And like it is not just an individual who's doing coaching programs and like, filling their individual calendar. Like there is
50
a whole
coaches.
50?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's amazing. How many people are involved in the actual like sales process to fill those 50 coaches calendars?
We have, I think, a little over 100 salespeople currently. And amazing. Probably 180 people on the team overall between all the other departments.
Amazing. I love that you're just running conversion ads.
Yep. it's simple, right? But
it's so simple.
So like where it does come into alignment with your strategy, I think, is that, new levels, new devils, right? So a lot of the stuff that you're teaching people in terms of awareness and getting on people's radars, we do that. We just do it at different levels. So we're working with a PR company to get Dr. Pompa is the guru's name in the business. But we're working with a PR company to get him on like Fox News or CBS or ABC, all that fun stuff. We have social media going in a very different way than what a lot of people might be doing. We have a few different agencies for TikTok, for Instagram, for Facebook. So we still do all of that stuff, but Dr. Pompa, the guru, doesn't need to be as involved with that. Keep it very high level for him. Well,
it's such a different model than the like online coaching and course creator space, right? Like the brand personality is the person that's usually driving all of the social media, is the person that's delivering all of the content. But like Dr. Pompa in this example, like he's the face of an organization,
Right.
which is a vastly different thing than just creating a lifestyle or freedom-based business.
Yeah. Exactly.
Somebody did want to know, what does like the organic reach versus the paid reach look like on a monthly basis? Because you just talked about different platforms, TikTok, this, PR, that. I just had one of my partner brands, they were on the Today Show recently. And so it was cool to watch
That's very
the
cool.
episodes going live at different, because it was a pre-recorded segment, in the different time zones going live. It was 2 days before Christmas, and then the sales coming in that same day, like in tandem. You could see the hourly spikes of when the segment went live. So just is that, I mean, you might even not be have a grasp on that, because if you're just on the paid side of the equation and not the PR, like the team might be too big to know that information.
Yeah. Well, the PR stuff, we just started doing the PR stuff about 3 weeks ago, something like that. And then same deal with social. So, when we post something on social, we're really not going for reach. I would say you're honestly more of an expert than I am for that. Our strategy, courtesy of one of the guys that we're working with for social, is a guy named Mike Roddy, and I highly recommend him.
Awesome.
If you
can link him here in the comments after. If he's available, or like if he's findable online. Sometimes the people that have the greatest skills are like invisible.
No, he's findable. He's an agency owner for social, specializing in Instagram, but we're using him for TikTok.
Cool.
But what they do is they'll post content every day. And then in order to actually grow your page or your group or whatever it is that you're growing, they'll do shout outs from like big influencer accounts with like millions and millions of followers. And those influencer accounts will drive people back over to your page, and people will like your page, and then you grow your follower count that way. So it's a bit of a different strategy where we're not really concerned with the reach at the moment. We're more concerned with, growing that follower count,
like the overall. Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you that literally you can succeed with any and every strategy. You just need to decide what that strategy is, and then how you're going to execute on it, how you're going to build the team around it to just create those results. And even this week on my page, we're talking about the difference between a Facebook group and a Facebook page. And it's like, listen, there's no right one answer. Yeah. There's so many different ways to do everything. And we all bring our different viewpoints and experience to the table at the end of the day. I'm going to go into the more technical elements, because you were saying they create content every single day on a platform like TikTok.
Yep.
That part of your creative testing process for the ad spend side of the equation, it's not? Okay, so then
remotely.
Tell us about that creative testing process and how that works at that level of scale.
Yeah. So I think at this scale and most scales, the main goal initially is to identify a control ad, whatever's going to drive the best result that you can.
And you're doing that like through the paid side of the equation?
Yep.
Okay.
So testing 5 different ads, whichever one performs the best, leave that one on. Whichever ones aren't performing, turn them off, get rid of them. And then once I'll circle back to what you can do with the controls to get more legs out of them. But while you're doing that, as you've identified that first control, now you want to beat that control. So you're always testing variations, like totally new ideas, new messaging, different locations, leveraging topical subjects. Like one of ours recently was the train derailment in Ohio, if you heard about that. And the goal of that is to identify the next ad that's really going to drive the CPA down, or it's going to, at the very least, it's going to help you to maintain what you're currently doing. Because ads over a period of time, depending on how big your market is, do go stale and the performance starts to slide. So you always have to have something in the pipeline ready to go in order to maintain the results that you're getting.
The control ad, what percentage of the budget is it getting at any given time? And then those ones that you're seeding, how much are you allocating to those to see if you find that new winner?
Pareto principle for everything. So roughly 80% is going to our control ads, and then 20% is going to testing.
Cool.
Roughly.
Okay. Awesome. And then once you find that new winner, does it just take over and become the control? We test in an ABO campaign in a separate ad account, actually. Oh.
So depending on everyone's skill level, ABO's ad set budget optimization. It's the old school Facebook way. And then there's CBO, which is campaign budget optimization, which is the machine learning way and usually way more profitable in the long run with way better results. So once we've identified a control, we just move it into that control campaign, the CBO campaign.
Cool. The one that's already running on the other account?
Yep.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll recreate it, create a new campaign from scratch, but more times than not, there's not really a benefit to doing that. It's just, you're better off adding the ad in there and letting it do its thing. And then we turn it off in the ABO account because otherwise those two ads, they're the same ads now with similar audiences, they're competing against each other and they're splitting the results. And that's not what we want to have happen. So
yeah,
always turning off the variation from the testing account.
Awesome. And so in the testing account, the ABO, how many audiences or like what does your audience stacks look like to find the winner? Or are you just using like a completely broad strategy where you're like, Facebook, you know best?
Oh no. Oh no. We do a 10% lookalike, which we also use that same audience in the scaling account for one of the ad sets. But that's usually a pretty safe bet in terms of you know, the people that are going to buy your stuff are in lookalike audiences, especially buyer lookalike audiences.
Yep.
So yeah, just a 10% lookalike audience for all of the ads that we're testing across the board.
Would you recommend a 10% audience for people who are in the B2B niche, or is this just a B2C play?
Well, it's more of we're doing 10% because we're spending $1 million a month on ads.
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend 1%. And then for people that don't have the ability to create a lookalike audience where they don't have the 100 customers already, then kind of keep it pretty limited in terms of who you're targeting with the interest-based audiences.
Yeah. Oh, so many. It's just so fascinating. So you're saying to make up that budget, you have one ad account that is running your control at all times. It's usually deploying about 80% of the ad spend.
Yep.
The entire objective is to try and beat that in different ways and different angles. You did allude to something like you loop back around to how to find some legs to beat the control. Say more about that.
So once you've identified one control, like I said, that ad eventually is going to go stale. You can prevent that from happening by leveraging, we call them bolt-ons. So all of our ads are video ads. I'm a huge fan of video ads.
Cool. Are you testing any other type, or are you just running all videos now?
We're only running video ads.
Ooh, okay.
We have tested static ads. It's okay. Like you can mix and match. So like long form, short form, medium form copy, static ad creative, video ad creative, vertical ad creative for like reels and stories and all that fun stuff, or small format ad creative for like marketplace is one of the placements. Where is another one? Slideshows would be another one, stuff like that. So we do test pretty frequently, but the video ads are outperforming everything else by a landslide.
Are you picking all of your placements still, or are you doing the like Advantage Plus that they're calling it now?
No, we always do auto placements.
Oh, you do?
Oh yeah. Which there's one exception to that. So if you have a presence on Facebook, then run ads on Facebook. If you have a presence on Instagram, run ads on Instagram. If you don't have a presence on Instagram, don't run Instagram ads.
Did you hear that, everyone? Caveat. That was such a great piece of advice, because that also helps if you don't have $1 million a month ad budget, if you don't even have $1 million a month business, if you don't even have $1 million a year business, start where you already have that presence. Start where you've already proven the creative, the content. I was working with a client last year, and I kept telling them, Instagram does not perform near the amount that Facebook does. And they were like, yeah, but we're going to go all in on reels on Instagram, all in on reels on Instagram. And I was like, our data does not support that. Our biggest, like highest click-through rates, highest just result rates in any conversion, any purchase always came from Facebook. And like results leave clues, right? Like that means the brand must know how to interact on that platform better than the other one. But in their head, they were like, but we have to be on Instagram. I was like, yeah, we're paying $17 clicks on Instagram. Like, I don't know if we have to be over there.
Facebook's still a very big place to scale a
Yes.
lot. But the reason we run the open placements is so Facebook is automatically going to optimize for whichever placement is performing best.
Okay.
So they almost always optimize for the newsfeed on either desktop or mobile. So
Yeah,
that's where the majority of our spend is going, or Instagram feed.
that's
And
good.
very little gets dispersed to, the other stuff like what audience network or like marketplace ads or anything else. And
Interesting.
you
Why do you
try to
think
control those.
why do you think some accounts like they have such distribution in the like non-newsfeed placements? Have you ever seen that?
That's a good question. I actually haven't seen that.
Yeah, I have found some account, and it seems to correlate to crappy ad creative. Like if it's not going to get high,
I believe that.
yeah, if it's not going to get high engagement rates, like in the actual like premium placements, like the feeds,
Mhm.
it's just going to disseminate it to other placements that could potentially get the click, but also cost Facebook the least amount of money to get out there.
Yeah. And
Maybe
Facebook's
that's
always
the
going
way.
to try to find what's working. Like they're
Yeah,
a for-profit company. They do want you to make money. So they're going to try to make you money and make your
totally.
ads work.
Because then you
One
keep
thing I was
spending.
going to say though is for like if you want to do the selected placements because you only want to be in the news, you can do that. The only result of that is you're going to pay more for the ads because the CPM goes up with every time you limit Facebook, they're going to charge you more for the ads. So
I like that. That's a good one. In your control, once you've found it, I'm having a pregnancy moment where the term's not coming to my head. I think it's, what's the one where you test the creative? Oh my God.
the like variations maybe.
Yeah,
Or
dynamic creative.
yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I was like, it's there, but it's not. It's like right behind the veil. So once you find the control, are you just like one body copy, one headline, one button, one video, or are you using the dynamic creative to like keep testing at such a large level of scale?
Yep. And I'll actually take it a step further. So we actually take the post ID from the ad that we tested, the original one, and plug it into the scale campaign. And that's preserving all of the comments, all the social proof, all of that. And that's that other kind of element of ad creative on Facebook and Instagram that a lot of people forget about, is that social interaction, that engagement. And once you already have it, it grows exponentially. So we almost always run post ID ads, and that performs best.
Smart.
We do experiment a little bit with dynamic, but
do you have people on your team that are then encouraging those comments, like encouraging the social interaction or replying to them? Because like at that level of impressions, you're going to get inundated with questions and comments and conversations, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, we have an army of virtual assistants in the Philippines, and this is all of the virtual assistants that we have are not factored into the like 180 employees that we have.
Wow.
So we probably have like way more than that I don't know about. But we have a lady that I worked with at Traffic and Funnels named Kathy Martin, who is absolutely incredible at sourcing VAs and managing comments on Facebook and all creating the frameworks and systems and all that fun stuff. So I'd highly recommend working with her.
Go
if
Kathy.
anyone watching has a pretty solid budget. But yeah, we have VAs in the Philippines that manage all of our comments, delete the, Facebook spammy comments that people love to leave, and then reply to the good comments to create that engagement.
I'm going to yell at everyone in my community right now, because one time I amplified a post to friends of people who liked my page, and your friends and family members like went off. I was like, I don't know who these belong to, but you need to come collect them and get them out of here.
Oh, that's funny.
I did that test the one time and I was like, we're probably good. Robin Thompson had a great question. He said, what's your personal process for managing emotional decision-making and panic? Which, like, essentially, in my program, the strategy system, we teach it as ad motions, the ad-fueled emotions that surface during this process. So how do you manage ad motions at a level where milliseconds could literally mean hundreds of dollars, maybe even thousands of wasted or inefficient ad spend?
Well, I love this question because even I, whenever I hit like publish on a campaign, like I have to leave my computer and like get out of my house and I just won't check on it for a day because I'll start second guessing it, and it's horrible. So I'm just like, all right, like step away from the problem. But I think the biggest thing is whenever you're running ads, for the most part, we're talking about numbers, statistical significance, all that fun stuff. So beyond a certain spend or until a certain spend, you really don't know anything.
What is
And
that spend?
it kind of depends on your overall budget, I would say. Usually whenever we're testing something, for example, we'll plan to test with a budget up to 5 times the CPA. And if it ever exceeds 3 times the target CPA that we're going for, then we'll turn it off.
Cool.
Which means like we'll waste like $900, but that's just the cost of testing at this scale.
Yeah. Are you using the like automated rules inside of Ads Manager when you set things up to do this, or is it just a manual process still?
It's a manual process because we have media buyers that are in there every day watching it consistently. If it were me managing it personally, yeah, I'd totally set up an automated rule to do it.
Yeah, I love that. So your process for managing panic is back away in the first 24 hours.
Just walk away.
Boris says that to me all the time. I'm like, oh my God, I just started another campaign and it's at like a new threshold that the account hasn't like hit before.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you touch that for the first 3 days, like you're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
It's just so hard not to sit there and be like, wait a minute, is it going to do it? Is it going to do it? And then you see the first few conversions come in with higher budgets at the higher than normal amount, and your brain immediately starts panicking. The ad motions start surfacing. You're like, it's never going to hit the targets that I set out. And then one day it just like pops into where it's supposed to start performing. And you're like, oh.
It's funny because at Traffic and Funnels, we created these like marketing 10 commandments basically. And one of the rules is good marketing works. And it's just trust the marketing and trust that you've set up everything right. Like just have that confidence in yourself and what you've put to the market to not touch it.
Oh my God,
because it was for media buyers, it's so much just to like sit there and just watch the numbers constantly.
Yeah.
And it leads to this reactive state. You make changes that are ultimately going to hurt your results, and then you never really know what the results are. So it's as soon as you make that change and give into those ad motions, all the data is irrelevant.
Yeah. I'm going to take you back to, so I had some questions prepared for us today. I'm going to take you back to some earlier questions. One was from Mia. She asked, what signals, so it might not be for this company because they are, you said, a performance-based marketing company, which means they likely test a lot of stuff paid that most people don't have the budget to test. So let's think of a little bit of a smaller company. Most of my people are in the coaching and consulting and business, like service provider space, course creators. What signals would they look for in their own sales process to indicate it was time to start scaling the budget and putting more towards ads in that process?
Yeah. So the main KPI for most coaching consulting businesses is very little that's actually found on Facebook. It's your client acquisition cost. So, sorry, I'm overcoming a little bit of a cold.
Feel better.
But it's your client acquisition cost. So, if it costs you $1,000 to acquire a $10,000 customer, that's incredible. 10x ROAS. I think a lot of people get kind of sideways in this because they'll look at like their overall client acquisition cost from all sources, meaning your email marketing, your social, like all the organic stuff, and mix it all. That's a different metric. I'm talking about your actual client acquisition cost specifically from your Facebook ads as the last touch attribution. And for a lot of people, it depends on the business specifically. So if it's a one-person business, you can probably afford to spend $5,000 to acquire a $10,000 client. If it's a bigger business, you probably can't afford to spend that much. It's probably $2,500, $2,000, somewhere in there. But as long as your ads are consistently producing at that number and that number is accurate, you're good to ramp things up.
I love it. And so as you're determining that, part of my process is I teach people to look at like each of the individual touch points along the way and ask yourself, like, is the ad working? Well, how do we know? We look at the click-through rate. If the click-through rate is dismal, then people are probably not resonating with the message that you're targeting. Okay. If the click-through rate's there and they land on the landing page, what's our landing page conversion rate? If it's hitting industry standards, like cool. If it's not, let's make some tweaks to this stuff.
Yeah.
And then so on and so forth. Are there particular metrics that you would pay attention to when first turning on campaigns for a brand new like brand that hasn't, like you haven't advertised with before?
Yeah. One of the, like, so every other KPI for on platform KPI, so all the Facebook KPIs are derived from CPM. So usually the first one that I'll look at is how much are we actually paying to get our ads in front of people.
Yeah.
I've seen that as high as $200 in accounts, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Everyone says Facebook ad costs are rising. That's actually not true. They've
I saw single digits in one of
$12.
my partner accounts
Yeah,
right
crazy,
now.
right?
I was like,
Crazy.
what? $7 to deliver
Super cheap.
1,000 ad impressions?
Yep. So holy, really?
Oh
That's
my God,
epic.
I died. I mean, granted, the click-through rate, it has a ton of social proof. Like there's over 2,000 comments on this one specific ad, or sorry, 2,000 like reactions on this one specific ad. I think we're up to like 400 comments, and they are literally testimonials from paying customers. And so the click-through rate was like 5%. So it was insane with these $7 click-through rates. However, the industry was very, it has a large curve of seasonality. So Q1, like the new year, new me stuff does not work for this brand, but Q4 absolutely crushes. So even with $7 CPMs, our like conversion rates dropped 20% because people are not thinking of the topic. They're thinking of like getting into new year, new me mindset.
Yeah. So I'm going to answer this question in two ways though. So, from top to bottom, just in terms of the actual KPIs, and then zooming out a little bit to talk about like real leading indicators. So on the ad side, if we're diagnosing on an ad, we'll also look at CTR. That's a good one. Aiming for at least 1% click-through rate. Obviously, the higher the better. Like 5% is incredible. And then we'll look at outbound CTR, which is the actual click to your landing page as compared to like the people clicking see more or whatever else on platform. And there, if we can hit 1% there as well, that's usually, it's not an ads problem.
Yeah.
That doesn't always indicate that it's not an ads problem. For example, we were running ads on YouTube recently, and they were all ads for a different webinar. And they were all getting clicks, but they were running to a landing page that had nothing to do with the ads. So it's that holistic problem of like, go through the experience as a customer and just empathize with your customer. And I'm shocked by how many people never do this. But just go through your funnel as a customer and make any notes of like anything that's not working, any errors to fix, like anything that could be a little more clear, and just make those adjustments as you go. But zooming out a little bit, I would say for a lot of people, everyone knows like cost per lead, for example, but most people don't take the time to measure revenue per lead. So, and that's the best indicator usually of how things are working is, again, from last touch attribution from Facebook, if your cost per lead's $10 and your revenue per lead's 30, that's not bad. You're pretty good. So then it becomes like diagnosing, like, how do we improve this? But you already have something profitable up and running. So you're already doing good.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did a good job answering your question.
No, you did, because the answer is like, you literally have to look at the spectrum of metrics, and a lot of people shy away, especially early on in their business, where they're like, I just want to hire this out right away. But they don't know how to read the data. And so I had a friend who, for 19 weeks, they like kept spending money, and their ad agency just said, we don't have enough data. We don't have enough data. But then you go look at the data that they were provided week over week for 19 weeks. And right there in the data, it tells you where the problems are. Right. And so it's important for people to understand that, like, yes, ads are an amplifier, and we need to know our metrics intimately so that we can make good data-driven decisions to be able to even get to a point where you could spend $1,000 a day, $10,000 a day $30,000 a day to get where you guys are now.
Yeah.
No, so it was a great answer there. And in the strategy system, one of the things that I teach like really early on is if you have multiple offers and multiple entry points and you haven't started with ads yet, the one that is the most probable one to have success with ads is the one that already has the highest earnings per lead.
Yes.
And we can calculate that without actually having paid media like spent before. But like you said, it's going to be different than when you start doing it from a different platform and have a different entry point. So the people that are measuring like their overall business earnings per lead, you can't expect those results immediately.
Right.
With the paid
very different things.
Very different things. So Anne, I'm not sure if she's with us live still, but I saw that she had a question. And I think you kind of touched on this, but just to clarify it, do you post it organically first, or are you just creating content in Ads Manager and then connecting, like putting that into the page, or do you even put it into the pages afterwards?
If I remember correctly, Facebook actually, anything you create in Business Manager does go on your page. It's just, they're all hidden. But we just create in Business Manager. We never bother creating on the page.
Got it. So then you're not taking any of those winning ads and like pulling them over organically.
No.
And vice versa. You're not taking organic stuff and pulling it over into ads.
Correct. I don't think the organic to paid transition works particularly well. Like maybe in the past it really did, but
I'll fight you on that one.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
But just because one is like warm market, and what performs to a warm market is going to be very different than a cold market. But I can see why you would have that different opinion, because you're teaching people how to create their warm market in the ads.
Exactly. And like I'm dealing with people who are, you know, more of those personal brands, more of those freedom driven businesses who don't necessarily like want to scale to the moon. They just want to scale enough to have like the business and lifestyle of their dreams, which means being highly relevant to a smaller pocket of people. And like, you don't need to do the broad audience targeting that we can do in some of the B2C industries and let Facebook put it out there. I actually, so fun fact, and then we'll just dial it in with some final lessons. There's somebody I follow on TikTok that works with major brands, like doing their paid traffic. And so a lot of his expertise and lessons and stuff are specifically for B2C. They're specifically for like massive budgets. And I love his content. I cannot think of his name right now. And I might not say it, because what I'm about to say next is not
smart.
Not the most flattering. But now I'm seeing his ads in the B2B space where he's actually teaching Facebook ads to other like media buyers or like Facebook ads managers. And he's using the B2C strategies in those ads. And I'm observing them not work, because he's trying to be highly relevant to a small pocket of people, but he's using the B2C strategies where he's reaching way past the market he needs to be reaching. And like the trolling that is happening on some of these ads already, I'm like, you got to come to my school now.
Oh yeah, that's funny. But it's a really important point. So for B2B, the way that you run those ads is dramatically different than the way that you run B2C. And if you try to run the B2C ads for B2B, it's going to fail spectacularly. So very much like narrow in that audience, because you have by comparison, a very small addressable market in B2B. Whereas, you know, my addressable market's 150 million people in the US alone.
Totally.
So like I can run open targeting and it's going to perform because I have a huge market, and I know that I have a huge market. If I was targeting, you know, 50,000 business owners, I can't go open targeting. Like that's never going to work. And I'm going to lose so much money.
You're going to get those trolling comments like all your friends and families did to me.
Yep. And the one exception to that is a lot of people mistake B2B for like B2E, which is like business to entrepreneur, which is more like a BizOppy type offer.
Yep.
Those you can usually get away with running the B2C ads to that market.
Interesting. More of like the beginner, like entrepreneurial minded, like Gary V, like Amy Porterfield type of audience.
Exactly.
Those larger personalities have they've dialed in their really tight offerings and then have expanded. Like Amy's book recently is about,
Right.
getting
How
into
epic
the
is that?
entrepreneurship.
New York
New York
Times.
Times bestseller, go girl.
Yeah, for sure.
I know, I watched the
Still
whole
need to
thing.
text her.
So I'm so like impressed of it. And I sent it to my friend. I was like, look at this live stream setup Amy has over here, killing it. Okay, so final question is so I'm assuming not many people who are watching have $1 million in ad spend just lying around, which, friends, we learned doesn't just happen overnight. You get to there purposefully.
Solid 6 months.
Right? Like you do the work to get the results to then have the income to be able to spend on that. So for people who are just starting out, what final lessons can you leave them with in their journey to just putting their work in the world, to starting with paid traffic, like thinking back to your own expertise and experience with amplifying some of the biggest names that have been through this industry?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue for running ads for yourself specifically are going to be, your own, the mental game, as I think Todd Herman would say, and just having confidence that the marketing that you've created is working, or is good marketing. How about that? That the audience that you've selected is a good audience, and that you're making your best educated guess in that direction, and being patient enough to see the results and get the data. So over a period of at least a week.
Yeah.
Then if you want to pause the ads, go review the data, revise anything you need to revise. And it's an iteration game in marketing. Like, even as skilled as I'd like to think I am, it's still, basically making a bunch of educated guesses. And the more at bats that you get, the more likely you are to hit a home run. So, keep getting those at bats and keep doing everything you can to control all the variables.
I love that. How long have you been doing this, Mike?
Oh shit. Oh crap.
Don't worry, I already dropped the S-bomb amplifying
right.
this in case you guys put me in purgatory.
I should have put Bash in my office. It would have stopped it. Let's it 10 years, 15 years, 20, not 20 years, not 20. I think like 15 years. Kind of guessing.
Man, it just goes to
I've
show
gotten
you.
old.
You're not kind of old. You're a baby in this industry, but also kind of old in this industry, because this industry barely existed when we all went to university, or I think you guys, what do you call them in the States? You call them college? Went to college?
Oh yeah, college.
Yeah, we call them university. We have colleges.
Yeah, everywhere else in the world calls them university.
But it just goes to show you, like, this entire journey, I always come back to this. This entire journey is a process that takes time. You show up to it for years on end. Even myself, it looked like I wasn't active within this industry for maybe 2 years. I wasn't actively showing up on my Facebook page, but behind the scenes, I was still putting in the work every single day on this craft, on this body of work, on working with clients. And I just know, like, you are so inspiring, Mike, everything that you've done and achieved. Like, I look up to you so much.
Likewise.
I am just so grateful for our friendship, and every time that I can reach out to you and ask you a question and even report my wins to you, I'm like, look at this new little thing that's working.
Yeah, the Medium articles. Still my favorite. I tried to match that. I couldn't do it.
even just, as I start to scale a new product or do this or do that, you've just been paramount on my journey, and I'm just so grateful for the work that we did on the bro marketing article. So I introduced this at the start, but for those who are with us now, Mike was part of the trio that brought the bro marketing article to the world in 2018, and like this man is just absolutely genius. So go follow him. We are so excited for what you put out into the world next, and I can't wait to see how this journey keeps progressing.
Likewise.
So,
well, thank you so much for having me.
So much. All right, friends. Until next time, when we might have Mike back on, maybe we can get him to do this again, because this was so fun.
Yeah, this was fun.
Bye.